Welcome to the Biking Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Smith, and I lost 50 pounds riding my bike by focusing on what my body can do. Now, I teach other women how to do the same. I am obsessed with completely flipping the script on weight loss so that we can work out to feel good and feel strong. If you are ready to stop dieting, learn how to appreciate your body, and have fun riding your bike, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the podcast. And if you're just joining us for the very first time, I'm so glad you're here. This is going to be the perfect episode for you to jump in on. And I want to send you an extra special warm welcome too. Welcome to the Biking Wellness community. I am so thrilled that you are here. So today we're talking all about why the scale isn't moving even when you're doing everything right. And I know this is so frustrating. I've been there. I think we've all been there. One of you actually reached out to me recently and said, I'm making positive diet changes, but the scale isn't going down. It's really frustrating and it makes me want to scream. And oh my gosh, yes, I think we all can 100% relate to that. I totally get it. I just finished this 30-day challenge where I was weighing myself every single day and posting it on Instagram. And if you didn't listen to that episode, I actually did recap it, and that's totally fine. But what that challenge really taught me was that there are so many factors that affect the scale that have absolutely nothing to do with whether you're actually losing fat. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And before we dive in, just so you know, if you are listening in real time, I do have a couple of one-on-one coaching slots that are still open this week. If you want personalized support figuring out how to actually lose weight in a way that works for you and your body, all you have to do is email me at stacy@sassy.com. That's STACY@SASCY.com, or DM me on Instagram at sassycycling, SASCY cycling, with the word interested, and we can chat. The first thing that I want to talk about is what the scale is actually measuring. Now, I know you probably think you know a lot of this, and you probably do, but it always helps to hear it again. The scale is measuring your total body weight. That includes fat, yes, but it also includes, muscle, water, whatever food happens to be in your digestive system, inflammation, and hormones. So when the scale goes up, when the number goes up, it doesn't mean necessarily that you gained fat. In fact, it probably doesn't mean that. It could mean that you ate more salt and you're retaining more water. It could mean your muscles are repairing from a hard workout and holding on to water. It could mean that it's a certain time of the month. It could mean you ate a big meal and it's still there and it's still digesting. When I was weighing myself every day for 30 days, I saw these patterns. I had a tendency to overeat over the weekends. And then I would get back to my regularly scheduled programming during the week, and I would see the scale reflect that. I would see that it went up over the weekend, but it wasn't fat gain. This was pretty much just water retention, salt, the actual food itself still in my body that hadn't been digested yet. I also noticed that when I was working out more, I tended to see the scale go up then too. And again, it's not instant muscle gain either. It's just my muscles tearing, retaining more water. It could be that I was drinking more water than I normally do to really fuel for those workouts and stay hydrated. So the first thing that I want you to understand and I want you to completely absorb and embrace is this idea that the scale is not just measuring fat, it's measuring everything. And as a result of that, it fluctuates so much, which is my second point, which is that there are so many freaking factors that affect the scale, some of which are completely out of your control. So here are all the things that have actually nothing to do with you actually gaining weight, gaining fat. Water retention from sodium is huge. Your muscle repair after workouts, water retention from this is huge. When you are fluctuating through your menstrual cycle, this is huge. Hormones can have a real impact on your weight. Any kind of inflammation, bloating can contribute to this. How much actual physical food is in your digestive system contributes to that number. Whether or not you've taken a poop this morning is going to contribute to that number. I know that with the hormone therapy that I'm on right now, I don't have normal poops the way that I used to. Like, I'm just going to throw it right on out there. It's just a little bit different right now. So that is going to be a factor too. And here's another big one, honestly, how frequently you're weighing yourself. So for me personally, and this is very personalized, and I would never tell you what to do because I know that many of you have struggled with eating disorders, with disordered eating, and you're not using the scale at all. And in fact, that is freaking great, and I don't think you probably should. And you might even want to just stop listening to this episode right now if it's triggering for you in any way. But for me personally, the more frequently I weigh myself, the better, because it desensitized me to the number on the scale, and it let me see the patterns so that I didn't freak out when the number went up and think that everything had gone wrong. Every single Monday of the challenge, the number was up. Every single one. It was because I had eaten more over the weekends, and I could see that pattern and just say, oh, that's just because I ate more over the weekend than I normally eat during the week. Okay, just information, moving on. If you only weigh yourself once a week and it happens to be on a day where your number is higher, you might think that you're not making progress when you actually are. But if you weigh yourself every day, you can see that that number fluctuates. You can see the overall trend. In fact, one of my friends actually messaged me when I started weighing myself every day, and she told me how freeing it was to weigh herself every day because she realized that there was no way she actually gained 7 pounds overnight. It was just that she had a really, really active day, and she was probably having her muscles and water retention do some really crazy things that day. She just laughed actually at the number because she was like, I know that's not right. And that's the same thing with me on Monday mornings. I laugh at the number. I'm like, I know that's not right. I know that's just my body doing what my body does, and it will drop as the week goes on. I'm not saying that everyone, like I said, should weigh themselves every day, but I'm saying that if you understand the fluctuations of your own personal body, it can help you not panic when the scale doesn't do what you think it should be doing. Which brings me to the next elephant in the freaking room, my friends. And I think a lot of you are going to be relating to this one: perimenopause and menopause, and what these time periods do to our bodies. Now, you're going to probably hear a lot more from me on the topic of perimenopause and menopause because I am in it. And I know that a lot of you are in it with me too. And there's just a lot that's kind of fluctuating and changing with our bodies. There's a reason why they kind of refer to it as a second puberty. It's because our hormone fluctuations at this time can be just as great. And what I am hearing from so many women on the topic of perimenopause and menopause is that what used to work in terms of weight loss, in terms of moving their bodies, in terms of energy levels, all of it just doesn't work anymore. And I'm going to just be honest, that can absolutely be true. It can. And so the question is, what the heck are we going to do about it, right? So our bodies at this time are more likely to lose muscle as we get older. And muscle is what metabolizes fat. So if we're losing muscle, then our metabolism could very well be slowing down. And for me personally, I'll just be very honest, I find that I cannot overeat as much as I used to. Because of the speed of my metabolism when I was younger, I could just eat a lot more than I can right now and not gain weight. And so what worked before just isn't working now for that very reason. And the other thing I want to mention related to this is that you can absolutely overeat healthy food too. So it could very well be that you are making positive dietary changes and you're putting food in your body that is really, really good for you, but the quantities might not just be quite right. Or it could be that your body is just adjusting to this newer, healthier food and it hasn't worked it all out yet. And maybe it's digesting it differently and that's reflecting on the scale. And it has absolutely nothing to do with your actual body composition. So there's a lot going on here and you can really get in the weeds with it and you can really make it very complicated and taxing on your brain. That is not what we're doing here. I am just providing you with some explanations for what might be happening and what might be going on in your body so that you don't freak out about it. So a lot of times, we think we're making all these healthy shifts, and that's great. But if we're still overeating and we're still taking in more food than our bodies actually need, we will still gain weight. So it's a way of kind of figuring out, okay, what food changes am I making? Am I making them consistently? Am I still fueling my body properly through the day? Am I feeling really hungry? Am I paying attention to those hunger cues? Those are all things that we have to think about. I worked out more this week than I have consistently in a very long time. And lo and behold, surprise, surprise, I was a lot more hungry. All of these factors kind of can come into play. So there's a lot to think about. But again, just make it really simple and ask yourself, am I hungry? Have I had enough to eat? Am I fueling my body properly? Am I making really good positive changes to my food intake? Are they feeling good in my body? Eating salad and chicken and brown rice all the time is great. But if you're eating way more of it because you don't particularly like it and you're not particularly satisfied in terms of that, then that can be a problem too. So sometimes the scale isn't moving because we're eating more than we think we are. And sometimes we eat more healthy food than we do what we consider to be less healthy food because we think it's better for us. And it is, but we can still overeat healthy food. So those are all things to just kind of think about and keep in mind. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is how to know you're making progress if the scale isn't actually moving. So if the scale's not moving, how do you know that you're moving forward? Here's what to look for instead. How are your clothes fitting? How do you feel? Do your clothes feel looser? Do you feel more comfortable in them? Do you have more energy? Are you sleeping better? Are you feeling stronger? Are you having these great workouts and are you feeling freaking amazing about it? Are you able to do things you couldn't do before? Can you ride your bike a little bit longer? Can you get up those hills a little bit easier? Can you see that you are able to progressively lift heavier and heavier weights? Can you walk up the stairs without getting as winded as before? These are all signs of progress, arguably much more important ones than the number on the scale. So another thing for you to consider is, are you actually trying to achieve some kind of magical number in your head that maybe isn't what's best for you and your body and your lifestyle right now? I know that for me personally, there have been times when the number on the scale that it's spitting out at me is low, but I wasn't particularly healthy. So when I was breastfeeding, I could eat a lot, honestly, and I was at the lowest weight. And I was very unhealthy. I was not moving my body. I was eating a lot of fast food. I was in survival mode. Not that anything's wrong with that. And I am not in any way beating myself up for the decisions I made then. Like I said, I was in survival mode. I wasn't sleeping. I was trying to survive. But it just goes to show that the number can be low, but that doesn't mean that your body composition is optimal. It doesn't mean that you're healthy. And there are a lot of terms that people throw around related to that, and I'm not using any of those terms because I don't like them, but I think you know exactly what I mean. I am much, much healthier now than I was back then, even though I am a few pounds heavier. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is the timeline and the reality that when you lose weight in a healthy, sustainable way, when you are listening to your hunger cues, when you're eating when you're hungry, when you're stopping when you're satisfied, when you're fueling properly for your workouts, it can take a while for that number to actually go down. And I know you don't necessarily want to hear that, but our bodies are designed to hold on to pretty much everything that it has so that they can survive. And sometimes when we're giving our bodies less, our bodies aren't quite ready to let go of that fat. They're not quite ready to let go of what we've been storing, and our body will hold on to it for a bit. I know that some people call this starvation mode, but we're not going to call it that because that is not what's happening, and that's not what we're doing or what our body's doing, because in this community, we eat. We fuel our bodies. We eat when we're hungry. We stop when we're satisfied. But if we have been at a particular spot for a while with our body composition, our body isn't always ready to change and to change rapidly. And rapid change really isn't good for us or our bodies, because a lot of times when you have really rapid weight loss, that means that you're having really rapid muscle loss, and we do not want that. So, for example, when I did the 30-day challenge, over the course of the challenge, it kind of seemed like I was gaining and losing the same couple of pounds every week. But by the time the 30 days was up, the scale was consistently down 2 pounds from where it was at the start of the challenge. So that was about half a pound a week, which for me has always been pretty good, sustainable weight loss. Any more than that, it tends to be I'm doing stuff that I really shouldn't be doing. That's just for me. I'm doing stuff that I'm not really willing to do forever. The idea here is that, the scale goes up, the scale goes down. Over time, I was down those 2 pounds. And then the following week, after the challenge was over, I lost 2 more. 2 pounds in 1 week. Here's what you need to know. I didn't actually lose 2 pounds in 1 week. It was the cumulative effort of being consistent with weighing myself, being mindful of what I was eating, and really cracking down on the overeating that I had been doing since the holidays. And it was overeating. I was eating more. I was checking in with myself. I was saying, yes, I have had enough, but this tastes good and I'm going to eat a little bit more of it because it's the holidays and I want to enjoy it. So I was making these really conscious choices and decisions. And after the holidays were over, I was back to my regularly scheduled food programming, and I ended up seeing that reflect in the scale. So you have to give it time. And I know you don't want to hear that, but give it time, be consistent, trust the process, and know that the amount of time is going to be different from person to person. What it takes for me in terms of a timeline might be very different from you, and vice versa. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is what to actually do when the scale stops moving, when it's stuck, when it's not going down anymore. So if it's been stuck for a while, you might be wondering, what should you actually do? Well, first, make sure you actually are doing what you think you are doing. Are you really, truly doing all the things? Are you truly eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're satisfied? Or are you overeating possibly a little bit more than you think? Are you grabbing food that you aren't really paying attention to, that you don't actually want or need? Are you actually fueling your workouts properly? Because if you're working out a lot and trying to lose weight at the same time, that can actually get tough. And that's why I say that everyone should really have a priority of what is most important to them. That priority can and should shift and change, but you should know whether or not you really want to lose weight or whether or not your goal is to run a marathon, because you are going to likely be making food choices differently depending on what that situation is. If you're training for like a really big ride, if you're training for a half marathon, a triathlon, and you're trying to lose weight, you might end up underfueling your workouts, and that's really bad. And that's not going to help you with either of your goals ultimately. Balancing eating to gain muscle and fuel for workouts is challenging. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. So I quite honestly tell people, when you really want to lose weight, always have the movement be what you do to feel good and feel strong, not as a means to lose weight, because that is not what movement is supposed to be about. To lose weight, you really need to address what you are eating while also fueling for your workouts when necessary. So if the scale's stuck, try something different. Maybe fuel a little differently for your workouts. Maybe crack down a little bit on your overeating if that's what you think is happening. Maybe increase your strength training. Maybe test and find out what works for you. And really, at the end of the day, the focus is not on giving up and being consistent with starting again and knowing like, hey, this is really not doing what I wanted to do on the scale this week. So maybe I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to focus on something else. Maybe I'm going to focus on all of those other factors that I know are much better measures and are much more important in terms of me living the fulfilling, healthy lifestyle that I want. The stuff we do here in this community is stuff that we are willing to live with, stuff that we're willing to do pretty much forever. We're not making drastic changes to see drastic results because we know that those results only end up being temporary. So here's the reality. There are so many factors that go into the number on the scale, and at the end of the day, it could very well be that your number right now is exactly where it should be. And part of what we need to do is learn how to be okay with being happy and healthy and weighing maybe a little bit more than we did in high school, if that means that we feel good and that we are strong. I know that for me, I am way healthier than I was in high school, even though I weigh a little bit more right now, and I'm totally fine with this. I also know that if I worked out more, if I strength trained more specifically, and higher weights, higher frequency, if I wanted to really crack down on my nutrition and maybe even track macros and all of that at some point, I could probably make myself smaller. And that is always available to me. That is always a choice. But I don't want to do that right now. There are some goals that I have to be stronger in 2026, to be healthier in 2026. And I am going to progress towards those goals. But none of those goals are to shrink myself and make myself smaller, necessarily physically or emotionally in any kind of way. I'm really, really happy with who and what I am right now, and I want that for you. Nothing physically needs to change about you or about me in order for us to feel that way about ourselves and our bodies. Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, Stacey, I need help figuring out what's actually going on with my body, what I should be doing in terms of fueling, in terms of workouts. I need someone to help me see what I might be missing. I totally hear you. And if you're listening, I do have a couple of coaching slots available. So if you are interested, go ahead and email me at stacy@sassy.com. That's STACY@SASCY.com, or DM me on Instagram at Sassy Cycling, SASCY Cycling, with the word interested, and we can chat about what would work best for you, because we can work together to figure out what's working, what's not, and what you might need to change. It is going to be completely personalized and customized to your needs and your life. You get to work with someone who actually takes your personal situation into account. Okay, my friend, here's what I want you to take away from this episode. The scale doesn't just measure fat. It measures water, muscle, food, inflammation, hormones, everything. There are so many factors that impact that number, and it takes time for your body to catch up to your good habits. Look for all of those things that we talked about, how your clothes fit, how you feel, how awesome it feels to move your body. What can your body do now that it couldn't do before? And if the scale is stuck and the scale is not moving, just don't give up. Know that there is something different that you can try, test, find out, see if it works, and be consistent with just jumping back on the horse and starting again, or jumping back on the bike and starting again. You're making progress, even if the scale doesn't show it yet. You've got this, and I'm cheering you on every single step of the way. Talk soon. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Biking Wellness Podcast. Be sure to head on over to sassy.com/guide, SASCY.com/guide, to get my completely free Lose Weight Biking Quick Start Guide so that you can get started with simple, doable weight loss today. That's SASCY.com/guide.